God here. And it's football season. And it's like 100 degrees outside. Sorry about that. Welcome to Season 4 of Gods of Odds, hosted by two of my favorites, Brad Hoyseth and Dave Daba.
Welcome to the Gods of Odds. It is week number 6 of your National Football League season. That is Brad Hoyseth over there in beautiful Southern California. I'm Dave Daba up in Northern California, and the big question of the day has to be, will Deshaun Watson actually play this weekend, Mr. Hoyseth, or will he stay home and count his pennies?
I have no doubt, Dave. I don't have any answers to that. Hey, I saw some cool stuff this last weekend, though. A picture of Dave Daba with shaking hands with the great Jerry Jones out there on the field.
That is actually very true. I got to hang out with, as I like to call them, the Jones family.
Yeah, hanging out with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses? Keeping
up with the Joneses. Yes, it was great to spend a couple minutes with him and, of course, his son, who's going to take over the team, Stephen Jones. I even met Stephen Jones's son, Stephen, as well. So it was a fantastic time. And I told Jerry, I said, Jerry, I know how to improve your ratings for tonight's game. And so Jerry's like, okay, what do we do? And I said, well, you've got this great game. You've got the Cowboys versus the 49ers. But if you could somehow figure out how to fly Taylor Swift in, your ratings would go through the roof. And Jerry laughed. So I got a laugh from Jerry Jones. Maybe it was a pity laugh. I'm not really sure, but super nice. The whole Jones family was absolutely super nice. And I want to thank him for the opportunity to get down on the field pregame.
There was a lot of other big news. I went 7-3 last week, Dave, and it seems like the early season blues that I had have gone away. I've been 13-7 the last 2 weeks. And I've been going with kind of a blue collar look here. Got the Menards shirt on. It's been working for me, so I'm going to keep going with it.
Nice. I was in the process of giving back to society a bit over the last couple of weeks. Let's just say that. All right, so we've got your the top 10 games worth actually spending some money on this week. Mr. Hoyseth, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the Lions at the Buccaneers. Detroit is a 3-point favorite on the road in Tampa, and I thought this line was kind of small, really. I think the Lions are one of the best teams in the league, Dave. I really do. And now they're starting to win games when they don't even play that well. So I'm not a big fan of the Buccaneers this year. I don't think the talent is there. I think this Lions defense is getting stronger every single week, and I don't think the Bucs have got the offense, to score with the Lions, who seemingly have weapons all over the place. So I don't know about the situation with Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I do know the Lions are a far superior team in terms of talent on the field, and so I'm going to give up that 3 in Tampa.
Tough game way to start off with maybe the toughest game of the week for me, Brad. This was one where I went back and forth, and then finally I settled on my old friend, Mr. Progressive Insurance Commercials himself, Baker Mayfield. I decided that I liked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just a little bit more than the Detroit Lions in this game. It's obviously a home game for the Buccaneers. You can see that Baker is gaining confidence week in and week out. The Bucs are well rested coming into this game. And I think there's still a little bit of doubt in my head around Jared Goff, somebody that you've coughed at a lot over the years. I've just got to believe that at least a couple times this year, the old Detroit Lions are going to show up. I'm just betting that it happens this week. I like the offensive line of the Buccaneers as well as their defensive line. I could see the Buccaneers not running away with this, but keeping it a lot closer than you like. I've got the Bucs in this one.
I'm expecting a breakout game from the guy that was suspended the first 4 games, Jameson Williams. I think he's going to have a big game this week. Finally, he's going to come out, have a coming out party there down in Tampa. I just think there's too many weapons, and that Bucs team just lacks talent.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to maybe the worst defense in the National Football League. Sorry. I shouldn't say that. Sorry, Denver Broncos. We've got the Vikings at the Chicago Bears. And Brad, who do I consider to have one of the worst defenses in the National Football League? The Bears or the Vikings? Vikings favored by 2 in this one. No JJ in this game. They shut him down for 4 weeks. He's on the injured reserve. We'll see a lot more of Jordan Addison. I'm just betting that the real Kirk Cousins will show up. And I can only imagine what you think the real Kirk Cousins is, and will take down the Chicago Bears. Look, the Bears running game was strong until their running back got hurt last week. And he's questionable whether or not he's going to play at this point. I just think that the Vikes still have too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball. I was very impressed with Justin Fields, though I will say he threw a bunch of passes. He threw at least 3 passes, which he connected on, that could have easily turned into pick sixes. We'll see how he deals with the 8-man front that Brian Flores is actually going to put out, and the different schemes on the defensive side of the ball for the Vikes. I like the Vikes in this one.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this a few times because obviously without Jefferson, it's a different animal, the Vikings. And you still haven't really revealed who's got the worst defense. I don't know. You've avoided that.
I think
you threw it out there like chum in the water, but you never really answered your own question.
I think the Bears are worse.
Yeah, they might be, but, I went back and forth a few times on this. What I'm banking on is, when Jefferson went out last week, the Vikes didn't really lose much. They actually played okay down the stretch without him. I think they have some other weapons there that are pretty decent. And, they can become a little less predictable if Jefferson's not on the field. So it's not like they don't have other weapons. Addison's looked good for a rookie. TJ Hawkinson's a really good tight end. They've got some other guys in the offense there that have played a lot of football and caught a lot of passes. So I ended up taking the Vikings minus the 2 because I think the Vikings are more hungry. But the Bears, Justin Fields has thrown 8 touchdown passes in the last 2 weeks, and he's going up against the Vikings defense that hadn't been very good. So that was a tough one for me. I actually wanted to take the over in this game. I know you bet the line, but I think if I was going to do this, I would have taken the over, which was at 44, because I think it's going to go over 44. I think neither one of these defenses is any good. I think the Vikings can still score, and I think the Bears will score because I think Justin Fields is hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fields is really going to have some trouble with Brian Flores, the different looks that Flores is going to put out. But let me give you a what if. What if the Vikings lose this game? I mean, season over, right? They'll be 1-5. Maybe you consider their season over already. I still hold out hope.
No, this season's done, Dave. It's over. It's not coming back.
If they go 1-5, do you go ahead and trade Kirk Cousins at that point? We've talked about this a little bit, but I might actually jump on the Caleb Williams bandwagon at that point if they get beat. I mean, if they get beat bad by the Bears, I say shut it down, fire sale it, and move on.
I think the worst thing that happened for the Vikings this year was that they won a game. You know, they were leading the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. They had to blow it and win a game, and now it's going to be tough to get there. That's just one game. You know, that could be the difference between Caleb Williams and whoever the Vikings deem the second best quarterback in the draft. You know, I mean, as I don't think there's any question they're going to take a quarterback this offseason. There's going to be a lot of pressure to do so. And, I think if the Vikings can start 1-5 or 1-6, suddenly I think Kirk Cousins still does have some curb appeal to somebody out there. There's a sucker born every minute. Who said that? I think it was P.T. Barnum said that, right? And so, there's always going to be a team out there that about midseason still thinks they're in it. Their quarterback goes down. They think they're just a quarterback away. Maybe a guy like Cousins can come in and save them. And so I was hopeful that that's where the Vikings were headed. I still think they might be headed down that road. I don't see them re-signing him, but you never know. If they manage to win a few games and suddenly they're not looking at Caleb Williams and they don't really like what's number 2, or they might decide to re-sign Cousins for a couple more years. You never know.
I mean, how much better would the Atlanta Falcons be with Cousins instead of Ritter? I know Ritter had a decent game the other day, but I mean, like, he struggles so bad in so many ways. It's just not even funny. So you have to see. I mean, there are injuries in the NFL and all sorts of stuff can happen. But I absolutely believe it's fire sale time if they lose to the Bears this weekend.
Well, we're going to talk about the Falcons coming up because I've actually got them in my picks. In fact, I'll move right into that pick right here. Washington is at Atlanta, and Atlanta is a 2.5-point favorite. And I got to tell you, the Falcons kind of impressed me last week. I thought they were going to get beat by the Texans, and they didn't. That was, one game I think I lost by 0.5 point that game. It was like 2.5, and they lost a last-second field goal to Younghoe Koo. Did the Texans, but
Younghoe Koo, Hoyseff's favorite player in the NFL.
Yes, love Younghoe Koo. But Ritter, there was the interesting stat of the day on Desmond Ritter last week, Dave. I don't know if you heard this one. He has not lost a home game since high school. Never lost a game at Cincinnati when he was playing at home as a starter. I found that to be fairly intriguing. Now, that can happen. He's obviously going to get a loss at some point, but I don't think it's going to be this week, Dave. And, the Falcons are favored by 2.5 at home against Washington. Sam Howell's been running for his life. I'm going to take the Falcons. I say they keep playing good football. I like their coaching staff. I like what they're doing. I don't think we've seen the end of Ritter yet. I wouldn't be burying him yet if I were you.
Yeah. Jack Del Rio is why the Atlanta Falcons are going to win this game. It is so obvious that Jack Del Rio has lost touch as a defensive coordinator in the National Football League. As much as I like Jack, I think it's over. It's time. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Commanders during the upcoming offseason? Coaching changes. There's a rumor of a name change again, which, as you know, Brad, I would love to be involved in that decision making. I could come up with some great names, and which would be way better than the Commanders. So it will be interesting. Sam Howell's is pretty good. I mean, you put Sam Howell with Kyle Shanahan, and maybe you're getting the same kind of performance out of as Sam Howell as you are Brock Purdy. A smart kid, wise decisions most of the time, just has no time to do anything. Can't even get a DoorDash order in while he sits back there to pass. Look, I like the Atlanta Falcons in this game. Too many offensive weapons. They should they should win this game, but it is going to be a close game because Sam Howell is the real deal.
I don't know. People keep saying that. I still think he's closer to Thurston Howell, Dave, than Sam Howell. I don't know. I'm not a believer yet. I haven't really seen much. I do like some of their weapons. I like Scary Terry on the outside, but he's been throwing the ball a lot of checkdowns to Logan Thomas, and it inflates your completion percentage a lot. I'd like to see him press the ball downfield a little bit. He doesn't seem to have a tremendous amount of escapability to me, which I think is a big thing in the year 2023 in terms of quarterbacks. So I got to see a little bit more. I'm going to go with Ritter at home. I say that home winning streak continues.
There you go. The great stat of the day. All right, moving on. We've got the San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. I opened with the big question about Deshaun Watson. Is he gonna be home counting his pennies or his millions, or is he actually going to show up? I mean, he has no incentive to play. I don't think he's injured. I just think he's hurt. And I'm not really sure what the deal is. He obviously
hold on. Explain the difference to me between injured and hurt. You don't think he's injured? He's just hurt.
He's just hurt.
What does that mean?
He's just hurt because he could have played last week, and didn't. So look, a bit of a head case, I think. And I think the Cleveland Browns organization, as you know, outside of hiring Kevin Stefanski, is a bit of a mess, though they've been able to put together really one of the best defenses in the league. And the trendy pick this week is to jump on the Cleveland Browns defensive bandwagon. And I'm just not going to do it. I saw Brock Purdy in person over the weekend, and I have to say, just totally impressed by Purdy's ability to read defenses, his ability to seldomly make any mistakes. He has a quick release. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the National Football League. In fact, I'm willing to bet he has one of the weaker arms in the National Football League, yet he's never lost a game that he wasn't injured in. So I like Kyle Shanahan figuring out how to scheme up a win against the Cleveland Browns. You have to know that Browns offense probably isn't going to do that much. I like the 49ers on the road in this one.
From a talent standpoint, it's the 49ers they're the most talented roster in the league. Yeah. You can maybe make a case for one or two other teams, the Dolphins, maybe you can make a case for them, but I think just throughout both offense and defense, the 49ers are just loaded. I just saw this line and I thought, something's wrong here. This line should be 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I mean, I really believe that. So I went the other way and I took the Browns. I thought, well, maybe Vegas knows something we don't know. Every once in a while you see a line that it almost like they're teasing you to take something, and I don't get it. Because the line makes no sense. The 49ers are a far superior team to Cleveland. I don't know what the weather situation is. Maybe there's some funky weather moving into Cleveland. I don't know. But it's not like San Francisco's never played in funky weather, right? They get a lot of rain up in the Bay Area during the fall months. So I'm going to take the Browns. I'm just going to say something's up here. It's a 6-point line, which I found to be, about 2 or 3 points lower than it should have been.
Yep.
And I just feel like something's going on here, and I'm going to take the Browns, and I'm going to take the 6.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it from that perspective, because if it was 8 or 9, I probably would have taken the Browns in this game. And I always worry about Kyle Shanahan outthinking himself. But they look like they're in a real groove. And, while I got to see the 49er defense in person, I didn't get to. I heard. I didn't have a chance to go back and watch the game, but I heard Chris Collinsworth was all over Fred Warner, and was calling him like the greatest linebacker ever and all sorts of stuff. And that's the thing. I mean, you're right. For in terms of like a pure roster in the National Football League right now, the 49ers. You can maybe make an argument about the Eagles if they, start to.
No question. The Eagles are one of those teams. Yeah.
Yeah. And, top tier, they're in that top tier lane. So, I just, I don't think this is the game they lose. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. I'm sure they'll lose a couple games this year, but they're on such a roll right now. I really like this 49er team on the road.
All right, next. Well, we're going to talk about those Eagles next because I took the Eagles at the Jets.
Brad did not give me a segue note card. I just want you to know that.
No segue note card. But the Eagles are at the Jets, which, they're in proximity. They're really not that far away from each other. The fans, half of them probably know each other. And so, but it's not a long trip. And I think Philadelphia showed signs of kind of hitting this stride this last week. I think the Eagles are going to start rolling. And I think the Jets are a good starting point. I just don't think the Jets offensively have the personnel to just keep pace with what the Eagles are going to do offensively. And it's not like the Eagles are a slouch on defense. They could shut them out. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So I thought 7, was a really low line. I'm going to take the Eagles and I'm going to give the 7 on the road.
The only chance the Jets have in this one is if Zach Wilson goes 12 for 15, doesn't throw a pick, doesn't fumble, and they get a huge performance out of their running game. And that's the only way. Or if Jalen Hurts has a bad game, I like the Eagles in this one big. You're right. A lot of people share Thanksgiving dinner together between Philadelphia and New York. When you're deciding to go to a concert, you decide between MSG and the place. What was the old arena that the
Philadelphia played in? Oh man, what was the name of that place? I can't remember it. It'll come to me.
The Spectrum.
Spectrum. That's what it was. It was the Spectrum. Yeah,
it was the Spectrum. That's right. So, this Eagle team is on a roll. The offense is still finding its way. Love the defensive line that the Eagles are going to put out, which is why I think, Zach Wilson's going to have a lot of trouble here. So I like the Eagles in this one as well.
Here's another conversation that's starting to bother me, Dave. The constant every single week now, every announcer thinks that they're being creative and calling it the brotherly shove, right?
Oh, God.
I mean, the play that the Eagles are running when it's, the
rugby play.
4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 or whatever the case is. And, all these announcers are talking about, well, the league's going to have to do something about. What do you mean the league's going to have to do something about this? It's what people should have been doing for the last 40 years, Dave.
I completely agree.
Come on. So you're going to create a rule to stop something that works? I don't get it.
I don't understand how nobody thought of this before. That is like the shocking thing of all the great minds in the NFL, to not think of, hey, let's just take the tailback and stick them behind the quarterback and shove them across the end zone line. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. Did somebody finally discover that they could actually watch rugby on television in North America? You can learn a lot from watching, rugby and the AFL, which is the Australian Football League, which is, hybrid game. That's right. A fantastic game, Brad. I spent some time in Brisbane, and was
with
able
Jerry Jones. Were you there with Jerry Jones?
I wasn't there with Jerry Jones. I was not. That was a work boondoggle. But anyways, fantastic. I think it's ridiculous to even consider doing that. It would be almost impossible to enforce. Why take something away that actually works? And the old line used to be the no fun league. And so this is the kind of thing that the NFL would have absolutely taken away 20 years ago. But I don't think they're going to touch it. I think it's safe. It's safe.
I could see him maybe saying that, you can't push a player from behind and legitimately help. But that's nothing new. It's been going on for years and years. It it seems like Philadelphia has just perfected it on that short yardage situation, and and nobody can stop it.
Well, I mean, we saw it last year. A lot of teams jumped on it, so it wasn't just Philadelphia. They just happened to be better at it.
Yeah, they're unbelievable at it. They're really almost unstoppable.
It's unstoppable. There was a play in a game. I don't even remember which game this was, but it was. They called it a yard, but it was 2 yards. It was really 2 yards, and they just decided to punt. Anyways, moving on. The Dallas Cowboys against the Los Angeles Chargers in what will most certainly be a home game for the Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 2. My friend Jerry is one of the reasons that stadium was even built in the first place. Also, one of the primary reasons the Chargers are one of the tenants there. So Jerry Jones, a big supporter of that stadium getting built inside the NFL. That being said, I love the Chargers, as you know. I want to see the Chargers succeed. I've got to believe this is going to be a rebound game for the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that the Cowboys defense is going to find a way to slow down Herbert just enough to me the difference in this particular game. Cowboys, once again, favored by 2 on the road in Los Angeles, coming off of that beating up in San Francisco. Now, before I pass it over to you, Brad, I will say this. Dak does not look like the old Dak. And Dak appears to be having some issues, running the way he used to run. And so one of the things that made Dak, really good was his ability to roll out and pass. That really isn't working out so well for him right now. So he's had to turn into a drop back passer, and he just hasn't been, as good at that as we thought he was going to be coming into the season. That is a concern I have coming into this game. It's actually a concern I have for the Cowboys for the rest of the season. They're going to have to figure out how to roll them out a little bit more.
Well, it's interesting how just 1 or 2 words can make a big difference in a statement. You said he doesn't look like the old Dak. I think he looks like old Dak. It's what he looks like. I mean, you just leave a couple words out of that, and it's a completely different sentence. No, I don't think he's a great quarterback, Dave. I've never thought he's a great quarterback. I think he had a moment in the sun where he looked good. I think he's a guy that is streaky. He can get hot. Kirk Cousins is streaky. He can get hot. but at the end of the day, he makes too many mistakes in big situations and big games. This is not going to be one of them, though. I will never take a Charger team when Brendan Staley is the coach. There's no chance. He's the worst coach in the league, and I predict that once he does get fired, he'll never get another job. But that's just me. I don't see anything in him that I just can't take him. He's too risky and he's too off the wall. And I'm not a big McCarthy fan either, but I thought that was an interesting choice when your buddy Jerry hired him. But nonetheless, I think it's a good bounce back game for the Cowboys. I think they got too much defense. They'll put pressure on Herbert. Every once in a while, Herbert shows. You'll see these guys that come out of college that got a big arm and they think they could throw it through three defenders. He does that every now and then and gets himself in some trouble. I think it's one of those games where he does. I thought the line at 2 was really low. I'm going to take the Cowboys with you. I'm going to give that 2 on the road.
Yeah, the other big angle in this particular game is the Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator, also, next San Diego Charger in waiting head coach, right? Because that's what that hire really was. So when Staley gets fired midseason, Moore will jump in. And Herbert just doesn't look as good in Moore's offense as I think we thought he would. And I think he's got all the talent in the world. And I worry that even if Moore does become the head coach, they're just wasting Herbert's talent away with this Los Angeles Charger team. So anyways.
All right, I'm going to go back onto my next game, which is the Giants at the Bills. And the Bills are a 14-point favorite. That's a big line. I think it's worthwhile, though. I think it's a worthy line, Dave. The Bills didn't look good in London. They looked unprepared. They looked like the long trip didn't treat them well.
Brad, I don't know if you know this, but they actually decided to fly out late. So they flew out on Friday for a Sunday game in Europe. I'm just saying, whoever made that decision was crazy. If you've ever had any type of jet lag, they should have been there on Wednesday at the latest.
Yeah, I heard a couple guys talking on NFL radio this week that was bad timing on their part, but they said that most teams will fly out, take the red out on Thursday, and then get there early Friday and take the rest of the day to kind of relax and get themselves acclimated to the time difference. But the Bills didn't handle it well, but they're coming home now, and there's nothing like a dose of the Giants to make you feel better. They look like one of the worst teams in the league. Offensively, they're terrible. And the Bills can score 14 points in a heartbeat. So I just don't see how the Giants keep pace with them. I think the Bills are still a good defensive team, enough to, hold the Giants to 10 points or so. And so if the Bills score their normal 27 or 31 or something, I just don't think the Giants can get there. I'm going to take the Bills and give the 14.
Yeah, man. Looking at the over/under on this one, I'm glad you went with the point spread instead. I'm going to agree with you completely on everything you just said, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of excuses for the New York Giants. Well, Daniel Jones has had a neck injury the last couple weeks. I don't know.
By the way, I wouldn't blame him if he did.
No, I mean,
the guy's been taking hits.
He's just getting pounded. I mean, it would be great if Netflix was covering Daniel Jones this year for their quarterback show. I don't think they are. But to see what he's going through probably week in and week out to get himself back on the field, only to get pummeled. I mean, it is then on top of it, it's as if they're calling the offensive coordinator for this Giants team is calling the game in a way in which they actually think they have an offensive line that can protect. And when teams do that, you're just setting yourself up for complete and utter failure. You've got to use what you have to your advantage. And if you don't have an offensive line that, can't protect, then speaking of rolling out, you need to roll him out. He can't stand back in the pocket. He should never drop back into the pocket. It should never happen with this offensive line. That is how bad the Giants are. Buffalo will be fine. They'll get back on track this week. They do have, they took a tremendous hit though on the defensive side of the ball with injuries last week. So that, might make things look a little bit more interesting, but I like the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I just, I don't think the Giants have much. I think I mentioned it last week. Remember the game where Danny Jones got sacked like 10 or 11 times or whatever it was a couple of weeks ago. And I said, what really alarmed me about that was that they were running the same offense 5 minutes into the game that they were running with 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, did they not figure out anything in that 50-minute window in between? I don't get it. I don't like the play calling, and certainly the talent's not there.
Yeah, it's sort of like they have their pre-scripted plays, that everybody has at the start of the game. And they just never left the pre-scripted plays. They just kept going through them. It was ridiculous. All right, moving on. Cardinals at the Rams in Los Angeles. Could they be in Los Angeles and the Chargers are in Los Angeles?
Yeah, was one of them playing on a night game Monday night or something? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. Chargers are playing Monday night. Sorry about that. I was like, how are they going to do that? It's a twilight doubleheader in that game.
It's Cardinals, Los Angeles, Dave. They can do anything in Los Angeles.
Again. All right. 7 points is the line in this one for the Rams. That's a lot for a Rams football team. I like what the Cardinals have been doing. You have to be fair. It's, Brian Daboll's in his second year now with the Giants. They should be getting better, not worse. And so you want to give a rookie head coach some time to work through things. And I've been impressed with the fight of the Cardinal organization. You hate to be known as that guy. Well, at least he fought hard. That seldomly doesn't mean winner, but I think Sean McVay has figured some things out. Their offense looks good enough. I'm not sure the Cardinals are going to get enough pressure on Stafford to shut him down. The Rams went ahead and made a trade this week. They dumped Jefferson. And I think they're feeling fairly confident about this Rams team, that it's sort of on an upswing. Not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything this year. 7 is a lot for a Rams football team, even at this stage of the rebuild. I'm still going to trust Sean McVay. I'm going to take the Rams.
I'm going to see if I can't change your mind, Dave, because there's not many people out there that know Dave and I's history. Dave and I we worked on the broadcasts for Saddleback College football. This was, I don't know, what is it, 25, 30 years ago now?
Yeah, a long time ago.
It was you and I and Ben Maller, who's the overnight for Fox Sports.
Still had transistor radios back then.
We did. And the reason I bring that up, Dave, is because the new running back that's going to splash onto the scene for the Arizona Cardinals, Amari DiMercato, a Saddleback College football player right there, Dave. So I'm going to take DeMercado, and they're now the Bobcats, by the way. They're not the Gauchos anymore. They are the Saddleback Bobcats. I'm going history here, and I'm going to say that DeMercado scores at least once, and the Cardinals beat that 7-point line.
Interestingly enough, UC Santa Barbara is still the Gauchos.
They are.
Yeah, just wow, Brad. I might need a little bit more than that. But how's he been playing? Like, what kind of stats?
I think he's going to get the start. I think they got some injuries there, and I saw that he was one of the biggest pickups this week in fantasy football on the CBS Sportsline site. He was a guy that played at Saddleback about 3-4 years ago. He went and played at TCU. He started in the national championship game last year because he kind of split time between him and another guy, and the other guy got hurt. So it's not like he comes from nowhere. He's a really good football player, but I'm just going to go pull at your heartstrings there, see if I can make you change your mind.
I'm trying, Brad, but I think I'm going to stick with him. You know, one of the games we're not covering this week is the Dolphins Panther game. And the Dolphins are favored by, a ton. But, you know, their young running back, how do you pronounce his name? Etchen?
Achane. I don't know.
Yeah, he's out this week.
That's fine. They're fine. Ryan Mostert. Running backs are a dime a dozen, Dave. Mostert's been a ripped-off running back his whole career. He was ripped off in San Francisco.
So you want me to change my opinion on the Rams based on a dime a dozen running backs? I knew you'd go for it. Not going to happen.
All right. You got me on that one. All right, who do we got next? Me?
Yep.
All right, so my final game is the Saints at the Texans. New Orleans is a 1.5-point favorite in Houston, and I still like what I'm seeing out of Houston. I know they dropped that game to Atlanta last week. I still think the young kid at quarterback hasn't thrown an interception or some crazy. He broke a record, I believe. He's got the most passes in the NFL to start a career without an interception. And he's just playing really quality football. Now he's going against a really good defense, the Saints. That's, if he can get through this one without an interception, then, he's just going to add to his resume. But I think Houston's a good young football team. I really do. And I'm not that impressed with the Saints so far. I'm going to take the home team. I say it comes down to a field goal again, and Kaimi Fairbairn puts them through the uprights.
To go this far into the season, let alone being a rookie without throwing an interception is pretty impressive. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, even the interception that's not your fault interception,
right,
you think would have happened by now. He's just been super impressive. He's been the most impressive rookie quarterback I think I've seen in quite some time. I love the spirit of the Texans football team on both sides of the ball. I just think that the Saints defense is just like I think anybody that takes Houston in this one is a little bit crazy, just a touch crazy, because that Saints defense is so impressive. But then I like to walk that statement back a little bit by saying, just how bad is Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots right now? Take away Judon and a couple other key defensive players, and that is an organization top down that there aren't enough Band-Aids in the world to save that football team right now from fluttering off into the night. Anyway, so I do like the Saints a lot in this game. I think we're going to see the first interception, maybe two. The Saints should win this game. They're on a bit of a roll. Derek Carr not playing that bad.
Never trust Derek Carr, Dave. Never trust Derek Carr. That's all I got to say. Where did the Bill Belichick and the Patriots thing come from? That flew out of left field over here somewhere. But I agree with you. I agree with you.
The Saints just shut him out.
No.
And it's like, how does a New Orleans Saints football team with Derek Carr, right, as your starting quarterback, go into New England and shut out Bill Belichick? How does that ever happen? I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. All right, moving on to
I don't know that. I think that's more a statement about New England, though, than it is about New Orleans. I really do. I think that the Hall of Famers are all gone, Dave. They're gone. There's no Brady. There's no Gronkowski. There's no Julian Edelman. Those elements, they're all gone. The offensive line is all gone. It's just not there anymore. The magic is out the window, and Mac Jones is not the answer.
No, definitely. They have no Hall. They have no fame, and all they have left is ofs. That's all that team has left. All right, Seahawks at Bengals is our final game of the week. Bengals favored by only 3 in this one. I know the Seahawks have played really good since the second game of the week or second game of the season. And it's a trendy team to sort of get behind and start talking about how the Seahawks are going to make the playoffs this year and all this stuff. And as always, I love Pete Carroll, and I know he'll have their team ready to go. They're fairly well rested. It's just, it looked like the hibernation is over for Joe Burrow. And if the hibernation is truly over for Joe Burrow, then I expect the Bengals to win this game fairly big. And the fact that it's only a 3-point spread, I'm absolutely going to take. This is one of the games I feel most confident about this week. I've got the Bengals in this one.
I don't feel that confident. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Bengals, but I don't feel as confident as you do. I've seen 2 halves of basically 2 quarters of really good football of the Bengals the whole year. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of, lining up all the ducks in a row. First of all, I've got Kittle and Jamar Chase on my fantasy football team, so I was really happy last week, right? Yeah. But I also had Irv Smith as my 3rd tight end in the game, and he's nowhere to be found.
That's all right. You should be kicked out of fantasy football for that.
Well, I kicked him off my team right after the week, so I can show you that right now. But
you had this strange love of Irv Smith Jr.
I don't know why, Dave. I always thought he was going to be a good player. He still looks good in a uniform running around, but he doesn't catch many balls.
He doesn't. He really doesn't.
So I don't know. Anyways, to make a long story short, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Bengals, although I always like Pete Carroll going out east. He plays well out there. We saw him do it out in New York a couple weeks ago. Looked really good out there. Against, what was it? Did he play the Giants or the Jets? I forget who he beat out there. Somebody he beat like a drum. But Pete Carroll's – did they have a week off last week, Seattle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got an extra week too. So I don't know. This is a tough one to me. I don't think it's quite as easy as you think it is. I'm going to go with you because you've been really good on your own game in recent weeks. So I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm going to take the Bengals.
I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I record that as your new ringtone. All right. So there you go. It's our top 10 games of week number 6 of your National Football League worth actually spending some money on. Brad, just one quick question before we get out of here. Who would be your top 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League this season so far?
Well, I know you're a big Purdy guy, but he's not one of them. I'm sorry. I think he's got so much stuff around him there, but he's been good. Don't get me wrong. I still think
he should apologize for what he has around.
I think Tua has been really good. I don't know if he's a top 3. I'm trying to think. You caught me kind of surprised on that question there. It's clearly not Jordan Love. I can assure you that, Dave. Hasn't been Kirk Cousins. There's. I don't think anybody's been spectacular off the charts, have they? Am I missing something?
No, I mean, I think everybody that's sort of the point of the question, which is, you're hard pressed to come up with, three quarterbacks that
the last 2 weeks, it might have been Justin Fields the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he only won one of those games.
8 touchdown passes in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And, I mean, Russell Wilson has 11 TD passes and 2 interceptions. He's leading the league in touchdown passes right now. So it's this strange sort of dichotomy. I mean, I think when we get to the end of the season, assuming Tua can stay healthy, assuming Patrick Mahomes gets back on track.
Your boy Jared Goff has looked pretty good.
Goff has looked good enough.
You like how I slipped that in there? Your boy Jared Goff.
Love Jared Goff.
Bay Area guy, Jared Goff.
What's Sam Darnold up to these days?
Hey, he played last week. He played at the end. He's earning the best money in the league right now. Are you kidding me? He might get a ring.
Yeah. I don't. I trust that Shanahan will screw this up somewhere along.
He will be your quarterback before the end of the year. I predict that. How's that?
Oh man! Well, if Purdy goes down, they'll be trading for Cousins before they decide to invest all of that time in San Clemente's very own Sam Darnold.
It is an intriguing question though, because we had heard so much about, Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great year. And, Josh Allen has still played okay. And I don't think the kid in Pittsburgh has played very well. Kenny Pickett. Oh, yeah, I haven't seen anything there that impresses me. Patrick Mahomes has been, he's been almost human this year. So I don't know. That's a good question, really.
Patrick Mahomes, we wouldn't be calling him human if Tony could just catch a football. So just hold on to a football in that first game of the year. All right. Well, that is it for Gods of Odds this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. That is Brad Hoyseth over there in beautiful Southern California. I'm Dave DeBop in Northern California. Wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing week.